Summer nights are supposed to be warm, calm, safe. But sometimes, when the sun goes down, the dark hides things you don't want to see. From screams in the forest to shadows that follow you home. These are true horror stories people still whisper about.
So, turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and remember, you might not be alone tonight. Here are 6 terrifying true summer night horror stories that will keep you awake long after the video ends.
The shortcut passed by an old abandoned house on the edge of town. Everyone said it was haunted. No one had lived there in decades.
Its windows were broken, roof caved in, and weeds covered the yard. Normally, I walked faster past it, but that night, something made me stop. The house had lights on, not just a flicker, but every room on the top floor glowed with a warm golden light.
My chest tightened. I pulled out my phone to take a picture, but before I could, one of the upstairs curtains shifted. Someone, or something, was watching me. I stumbled back, my heart racing. The house had no electricity. I knew that for a fact.
Just then, I heard footsteps creaking across the upstairs floorboards, heavy and deliberate, moving closer to the window. My survival instinct kicked in. I ran as fast as I could.
The next day, curiosity dragged me back with 2 friends. We entered through the broken front door. Inside was dust, cobwebs, and silence. No furniture, no bulbs in the ceiling. No way those rooms could have been lit.
When we climbed the staircase, one of my friends froze. The dusty floorboards had footprints, fresh ones leading from the hallway window straight into an empty, pitch-black room.
It was a suffocating July night, the kind where even rolling the windows down doesn't help. I was driving home from work along a deserted country road when I noticed someone ahead, standing under a dim streetlight.
A young woman in a pale, old-fashioned white dress. Her skin looked strangely pale, her hair hanging damp like she had been caught in the rain. I slowed down, and she stepped closer, lifting her hand to wave.
Against my better judgment, I unlocked the door. She slipped quietly into the back seat without saying a word. I tried to make small talk, but she just stared blankly out the window, her face unreadable.
After a long silence, I asked, "Where should I drop you off?" When I turned around, my blood froze. The back seat was empty. No sound, no door opening, nothing. I pulled over, shaking, convinced I was losing my mind.
Later, when I told a local mechanic about it, his face drained of color. He said a girl had died in a car accident on that exact stretch of road nearly 20 years ago. People still claim to see her, asking for rides home.
Would you stop for a stranger on a dark road? If this gave you chills, subscribe for more real horror tales.
That summer, my cousins and I thought it would be a fun idea to camp by a remote forest lake. The air was warm, the stars were endless, and the woods were alive with the sound of crickets. We built a fire, roasted marshmallows, and joked until midnight.
Everything was perfect, until the woods went silent. No insects, no breeze, just silence. Then it came, a scream. It was sharp, human, filled with raw terror. We froze, staring at each other, waiting for someone to explain it away.
But deep down, we all knew that scream wasn't normal. My cousin switched on his flashlight, the beam cutting through the trees. Nothing, just branches swaying. Then another scream, closer this time. It circled us.
From the left, then behind us, then the right. It was as if something invisible was running through the forest, screaming. Our fire flickered, and every hair on my body stood up. We grabbed our things and bolted.
I swear I felt something watching from the tree line as we sprinted back to the car, our footsteps crunching through the underbrush. We didn't sleep that night. In the daylight, we returned to retrieve our stuff. What we found made us wish we hadn't. The tents were shredded, our food scattered, claw marks etched into the soil. Around the site were huge barefoot prints, too big to be human, too heavy to be fake.
That was the last time I ever went camping in the forest. Would you survive a night like this? Drop a comment. Would you run or stay?
It was a humid August night, the kind where your clothes stick to your skin. Unable to sleep, I walked to the lake near my hometown. The water glowed silver under the moon, still and beautiful. It felt safe, almost dreamlike.
I kicked off my shoes and slipped into the water. Floating on my back, I let my mind wander. That's when I saw it. On the far side of the tree line stood a figure, tall, thin, motionless. At first, I assumed it was another late-night swimmer, but something was wrong. The figure's head tilted sideways, too far to be natural, watching me. It didn't move, it didn't blink, just watched. I swam faster, my heart thudding in my ears.
The ripples around me felt heavier, as though something swam beneath. When I reached the shore and turned back, the figure was gone. The tree line was empty. I sprinted home barefoot, dripping wet, not daring to look back.
The next morning, I told some local fishermen. They exchanged worried glances and led me to the shore. The mud near the water was covered in long, deep footprints, far larger than any humans. They led straight into the lake, but none came back out.
One of the men muttered that years ago, people reported strange shapes moving in that water, shadows gliding beneath the surface. Some claim to see figures watching from the woods. No one swims there at night anymore. Neither do I. Would you swim here, knowing what lurks below? Subscribe now for more true horror stories.
It was late July, and I rented a small wooden cabin in the hills to escape city noise. Nights there were eerily quiet, the kind of silence where every creak of wood feels louder than it should.
On the second night, I sat by the window, enjoying the cool air, when I heard it. Knock, knock, knock. 3 slow knocks at the front door. I froze. Nobody knew I was there, and the nearest house was miles away. At first, I thought maybe it was an animal, but then the knocking came again, louder this time. I gathered the courage to peek through the window. The porch was empty. My heart raced. I backed away, trying to convince myself it was nothing. But at exactly midnight, the knocks came again. This time, it sounded like several fists pounding the door, shaking the frame. I didn't open it.
Instead, I sat in the corner of the cabin all night, gripping a kitchen knife, too scared to move. When morning finally came, I opened the door. There were no footprints, no marks on the wood, nothing to prove what happened.
But every night for the rest of that week, the knocking returned, always at midnight. I never saw who or what wanted to come inside. Would you open the door? Subscribe if you'd never spend a night here.
It was past midnight, and I was riding my bike home after meeting friends. The summer air was thick, and the road ahead stretched empty under dim streetlights. I had gone this way countless times before, but that night felt wrong.
Halfway down the road, I noticed a shadow moving along the roadside ditch. At first, I thought it was a stray dog, but the shape was wrong. It was tall, almost twice the height of a person. My chest tightened as the shadow kept pace with me, gliding effortlessly without a sound. I pedaled faster, but the figure stayed beside me, always in my peripheral vision. When I finally forced myself to look, I nearly lost control of the bike. It wasn't walking. It wasn't even touching the ground. It floated, its body stretched and twisted, head drooping forward as if broken. I shouted and pedaled with everything I had until I reached the first lit-up street of town. When I finally dared to look back, the road was empty. The next day, I told a friend. He went pale and admitted others had seen the same thing, what locals call the roadside shadow. Some say if it follows you all the way home, you won't wake up the next morning. That night, I didn't sleep at all. I just listened, waiting to hear if something had followed me inside.
What would you do if it followed you? Comment if you believe in shadows.
Those were tonight's true summer night horror stories. But remember, the scariest stories are the ones that never end. The ones that follow you after the screen goes dark.
If you felt a chill run down your spine, don't forget to subscribe, because there are darker tales waiting just for you.
Like this video, if you're brave enough, and share your own story in the comments below. Who knows, maybe your story will be the next one I tell. Until next time, don't look behind you.